All right, this is gonna happen. It's gonna go good. I'm Chris. You're watching Fly Ride, and this is the channel where I teach you all about the parts, the techniques, and the business of building custom lights. So I'm gonna just dive right in. I know my ISO is crazy because I got a stupid light right here, but I don't care. I don't really care at all. So check it out. We've got some GTR lights. I'm gonna just dive right into what the different stages of custom builds that we have are for the GTR. So no matter what, we've got 3 different builds, stage 1, 2, and 3. They have different options that you can add to those stages as well. But there's a couple different little terms I'm gonna throw in right now, tell you what they are, explain them, show you some different examples of what the different parts are, and that's it. So every single one of these types of lights has a custom painted internal section. So we've got the lower section and the upper section that are all black inside. So that's huge. It comes on every single one of the custom builds that we do. And so here's what the main parts are. This is the bezel. This is normally bright chrome. On the 2017 GTRs, this is actually like a dark, almost like a black chrome. So if you want that look and you've just got completely bright chrome in there right now, the only way to get that is to customize it. And if you don't want to have super shiny black, and we do usually like a satin, this is more like a custom dusty finish, but the satin black is pretty killer on every single car, every color, doesn't matter. This is the big one that changes the overall darkness of the look of the light. It's just a little turn signal reflector inside, and instead of it being really bright chrome, it's black. So stage 1, 2, and 3 all have that. It's included. What we don't paint is this bad boy right here. This is the projector shroud, so this has to remain chrome. If you paint it, then the sunlight from up in the sky is going to come through that lens. It's going to amplify, and it's going to burn a little hole right here. It's going to basically try to melt this thing, and so we don't want that, and we don't want to have those issues. So instead of painting it, which does not allow the sunlight to be reflected off the bright chrome, it just allows it to heat soak and just get really, really hot. Bad stuff happens. We've seen it. We've screwed up lots of lights doing that in the past, and yeah, we're just limiting the money lost to 2015. No more shrouds burning because of us not knowing. Here's the other thing. The biggest reason anybody's gonna wanna modify an already really cool set of lights is because they want the cooler light output. So when you look at the factory GTR lights, you see this big cool lightning bolt, but what you don't know is that inside it's just got 2 tiny little LEDs. So we've got the upper one and the middle section. And what they're doing is they're lighting up these acrylic tubes that are inside of the GTR lights. So if you look at the way I'm holding it right now, that's actually what's inside of the lightning bolt. And at each end, you've just got one little LED, and it is shining into the tube, and it kind of works like the old school angel eyes. I mean, I used to build these things 14 years ago, and it used the same exact technology as this, which is just a clear tube. It's got an LED at one end. It's got all these little slits. So when that lights up, you've kind of got this very dim glow. It's not amazing. It's just, it's whatever. Which is why people with cool cars like GTRs, they want to make it better than that. And I get it. So for a long time, what we were doing was we were taking these parts from our buddies at the Retrofit Source. This is called the Profile Pivot strip, actually. So it's a really bright white strip. I'll turn it on inside the light, and you get to see what it actually looks like. So super bright, you can't really tell. I'm pretty positive that I can't adjust the settings on this camera right now, so you're not really going to be able to see it until I take the camera off. But basically, you've got a really bright white LED strip in there. When you hit the turn signal, it's going to do switchback. So that's the first term on here, is switchback. I'll go through a couple different things with you guys real quick. So let me demonstrate switchback. We've got white LED that when you turn it on, it's only going to be white if the turn signal is off. When you turn the turn signal on, it's going to flash and then switch back to white. So you've got your term switchback. That's all done by this little LED strip right here. So we break the rules, we void the warranty, we slice it, we make a cool little lightning bolt shape. So we turn this 24-inch strip into what's inside of these guys. So that was how we did it for years. Now we've had some parts that went into development, so it's a full drop-in circuit board. It's got a bunch of little LEDs on there, and these things are crazy bright and they're very uniform the way that they light up. The main reason that I had this built was because I was building by hand a bunch of these crazy little circuit boards that we used for sequential. So that's the second term that we'll talk about, is what is sequential. And a lot of times GTR guys have asked about that. Does sequential come in all the builds? Only stage 3. Sequential is absolutely crazy expensive, so you shouldn't get it unless you can't live without it. So I'm just gonna demo it for you really quick. We've got our normal turn signal, and then do some magic back here, and now we've got sequential. So that animation, it's a completely different part. We're no longer using this strip right here. If you look up close, which I will show you in a few minutes, instead of this thing turning amber like it was before, now it's triggering a ghost sequencer that's powering up a bunch of individual LEDs that I had to design by hand and like solder them on one by one. With that new strip, it will be much faster. But with this, I've had people waiting literally years for me to finish lights because these were taking about a month each set when I was building them much more frequently before I moved out of the house shop. And anyway, that's another story. So if I turn this on, you kind of will see I've got both sets flashing at once, because this set, whether or not we're using the turn signal function, is built into all of the lights that have that strip that does the white, because every one of these strips does white and it does amber. Sequential is just the cooler version of what this thing does right out of the box. This is not an expensive part. That's an extremely expensive setup right there. So either way, they'll both function as switchback. And did I kill the power? I may have. So let's talk about the other features, which are the color changing. This is only available in the stage 2 setup. So it has all the same functions as stage 1, which is brighter white lightning bolt. It has all of the turn signal, that whole thing like I showed you for stage 1 is included in the stage 2 build. The only difference is that it has the color changing lightning bolts and the demon eyes. We also offer angel eyes. That's not installed in this set, so it's kind of hard to tell. Let me just take this off real quick and I'll show you up close what these guys look like. Actually, maybe I can even turn this around. And better camera, much better. Okay, so you can see it's got all the black finish inside. It's got the color changing demon eyes, and the demon eye is just the whole glowing orb inside that whole projector section right there. The angel eyes are a ring. It's a completely different setup. If you look, this is actually a color changing angel eye for a different car, but we don't have those in this build. So that's what stage 1 plus color changing bolts and demon eyes look like. So we just called that stage 2. What stage 2 does not include is sequential, and oddly enough, what stage 3 does not include is the color changing parts. But now we have sequential action going on. So now we're actually taking, making use of all of those individual LEDs that before we just had set up on the turn signal. So let's see if it does that. So the sequential, the cool bonus modes, those all come hooked up on a remote. So if I turn one on, it's gonna override the turn signal and start flashing like crazy. And then if we turn on the second bonus mode, that will override the first one. So all of this stuff is included in stage 3. So you've got the brighter white lightning bolt, sequential turn signal built in, and then you've got the cool 2 bonus modes. So what's not included, like I said before, is the stage 2 color changing stuff. You can then add that on top of the options that come at the starting point with stage 3. So then you're getting into features like this. So it's doing sequential and it's doing color changing at the same time. we also have other options that you can add to all of this stuff, which is called strobe. So now we've got a bunch of stuff happening. We've got the turn signal going on for stage 3. We've got the color change happening from stage 2. And we've got strobe. So turn off those turn signals now. It sounds like people are going to start calling a whole bunch. So this may get interrupted a bit. Anyway, so what you're seeing right now is the strobe on top of the color change, and then if we turn on the other animations for stage 3, it's just doing everything all at once. So that's the main difference. We've got all the black internals, and we've just basically packed everything into one set of lights. A big question that we've been getting is about how intense the installation is, and that is a big change that we've added over the last few months. We've kind of made this a much simpler process for any shops. We've just got one big fat plug, and so that allows you to turn these things, plug them into the car, and then you just plug it into one wire harness. Very simple multi-wire. This has 16 different wires hooked up inside of it. So your guy just has to install one plug. It's pretty simple for all the bonus modes. But, let's see, turn back around. So that's it. So just, again, stage 1 just includes switchback and the darker interior parts. Stage 2 has that same stuff, but it also has the color change. And then when you go to stage 3, you've got sequential, which then you can add extra different modes like the strobe or the color change while it's doing sequential. I hope that all makes sense. So, having said all of that stuff, I am gonna wrap this one up and refer you to this video anytime you want to check it out. And if you have questions, for sure, just leave them in the comments below, and follow any of the other action that's happening on social media, so Instagram, Snapchat, all that good stuff. And we will answer your questions as they come in. Thanks, guys.